the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. On the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, we have as major headline, NLC, women demand free, peaceful poll in Osun. Adeleke's wife leads women, warns against indiscriminate arrest, harassment. NLC advises against intimidation of workers, pensioners. NCDC deploys 10,210 personnel, tactical units. IPAC cautions against manipulation of election. Atiku, Mark, Aregbesola rally votes for ADC candidate. Get details on pages 15 and 16 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Other headline says, I won't be a godfather to my successor, says Makinde. That's on page 15.
Easier said than done.
Yes, I don't think there's when the predecessor leaves, I don't think there's a ceremony for godfatherism. Like
exactly.
Nobody comes to tell you, oh, now you're the godfather, or give you a crown, or give you something.
You know
it happens.
You know there are clips of Wike saying the same thing.
Yes.
And Wike was saying, no, if I'm out, what?
A predecessor is a predecessor, but let's just leave that. Okay. Customs dismantles 3.24 billion naira smuggling rings in southwest. Okay, Lassa fever cases hit 1,000 death toll. 1,000 death toll rises to 237, says NCDC. Health, climate change withdraws Africa's malaria map. East Africa hardest hit. Rising litigation costs raises concern over access to justice in election-related disputes. SAN human rights lawyers insist justice must not become preserved for the rich. Now this is an important issue that we don't talk about in Nigeria. But how many common men in Nigeria can afford to get justice? Because going to the police, going to get a lawyer, they're going to court, has become very expensive.
Yes.
These days people just let it go because they know that they don't have the money, they can afford to go to court and get justice.
If you even have the money to start it, by the time they adjourn your case to the next 3
you pay a lot. So it's an issue that should be looked into, and I agree with the SAN and human rights lawyers that said justice must not be preserved for only the rich. Apprehension over looming food crisis. Farmers can't access farmlands in Kebbi, Sokoto, Benue, Plateau, others. Insecurity pushes farmers into poverty, worsening food production. Okay, I can barely say this, but that's on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune. At the top, we have troops rescue 33 kidnapped passengers in Zamfara. Experts flag debt servicing crisis as Nigeria grapples with 159.35 trillion naira bill. Say citizens may pay for it through additional taxes. And the last headline from the Nigerian Tribune, G100 begins consultations, meets Atiku, Obi, others, fixes Unity Summit for next week. That's on page 16 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning.
Next for review is the Punch newspaper. The lead, Osun election, sensitive materials arrive Osogbo, 30,000 core members mobilized. We have 3 riders attached to that headline. Soldiers guard Osun INEC office as 25,310 security personnel deployed for poll. Adeleke's wife leads protest against alleged arrests, violence. And the last rider, CSOs, others raise fears over INEC's new result system. You can get details of that story on pages 2 and 8 of the Punch newspaper. And the photo speak here on the Punch newspaper is that of the ADC rally. Atiku Aregbesola woo Osun voters, say ADC will restore Awolowo's legacy. Okay. 2027, opposition parties begin talks on single candidate. This conversation. Oyo pastor arrested for allegedly defrauding 18 members. Dangote, NUPRC differ over second quarter crude supply. Recapitalization, federal government orders NICOM to stop disputed fees. Visa processing shift won't affect Abuja embassy operations, a statement credited to the US. And lastly, from the Punch newspaper, 7 states FCT borrow 355 billion naira in 3 months.
All right, moving on to our next paper for review is the Daily Times. The next paper for review this morning, the Daily Times. Major headline says, NEC sacks Kaduna Disco Board over non-remittance of 456 billion naira. Dissolves directors, appoint interim team. And then at the top, we have EU denies rejecting INEC invitation to observe Nigeria's 2027 elections. Okay, that's interesting, but that was on the papers yesterday. But now they actually denied rejecting INEC invitation. Business subsidy could have cost 53 trillion naira, pushed naira to 3,500 naira per dollar, says NRS. Then at the bottom, we have just one headline. Lassa fever cases hit 1,000 as death toll rises to 237 in Nigeria, says NCDC.
Now we consider the Daily Sun and the major headline here, APC Akume dismiss Atiku, Obi Duke orders. The writers say other presidential candidates no threat to Tinubu. I never lobbied to be APC campaign DG, a statement coming from the FCT minister, Wike. Osun 2026, battle for Osun intensifies as Adeleke, Oyebamiji, Najim Salam trade claims. 2027 will send election experts mission to Nigeria, coming from the EU. Enugu abduction. Governor Mba talks tough as security forces free victims, arrest perpetrators. I think this is a good one. We need to see more arrests in this line and persecution as well. That's all.
All right, moving on to our next paper. Let's check out the Vanguard newspaper. On the Vanguard newspaper, so many headlines this morning. Major one says, why we planned coup against Tinubu. This is coming from Colonel Mayaji. Says he acted out of patriotism, frustration with Nigeria. We can't react now. Case still in court, says DHQ. That's on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. All right, very interesting headline. At the top, recapitalization. Oyedele queries NICOM over payments into escrow accounts. That's on page 20. WAFCON shame. More reasons Tinubu should act fast on football. That's on page 14. Delta Federal Roads. Gridlock, anguish as farmers, motorists groan. That's on page 12. Babangida Disu Osoba headline. Okay, let me take that again. Babangida Disu Osoba headline Vanguard's 40-year chronology launch. That's on page 8. 2027, Atiku, Obi, Duke's alliance, exercise in futility. This is coming from Tinubu's men. We will campaign with facts, says SGF. Atiku, Obi, Kwakwaso, Makinde meet August 18. Seek to unite against Tinubu. Okay. We are disposed to opposition uniting, says Atiku, Makinde, and NDC. That's on page 32.
Who will fly the flag?
I don't know. I don't know. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. Okay, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger alliance slams Tinubu over insecurity remarks. That's on page 9. Methodist Church to federal government. Nigerians not feeling impact of increased allocations. That's on page 10. Visa applications from Nigerians to South Africa double despite xenophobic attacks, says envoy. I can't believe this.
That's to tell you. So in as much as people want to come for Nigerians, but that's to tell you that the federal government and even the subnationals, they have to step back and rethink. Like, why will people be walking into their debts? Like, why?
Wow. Visa applications from Nigeria.
So they rather go to South Africa with the uncertainty of their security than stay
here in Nigeria.
So sad.
Atiku, Mark Wu Osun voters as Aregbesola predicts victory for ADC. That's on page 21 of the Vanguard newspaper. Those are the headlines from the front page of the Vanguard this morning.
We move now to this day, and the screaming headline here: NUPRC, Dangote got 98% of crude offered to local refineries in second quarter. Have a couple of riders. Performance rose 97.4% in 3 months. Supply exceeded allocation. 69.3 million barrels offered against 55.1 million. Upstream data shows 15.6 million barrels unutilized. Pengassen, NNPC's refineries shut down over losses, not non-functionality. Says proposed equity partnership with Chinese firm on right track. FG queries NICOM, demands response on alleged demand of 500 million naira shareholders funds from Nikon Insurance. And you can see there a photo of the governor of Kwara State, Abdulrahman Abdulrazak, presenting a souvenir to the United Nations Population Fund, that is UNFPA, the resident representative in Nigeria, and the caption there: Partnership for Sustainable Development. Now to the top strip of this day newspaper. Gergu defaults on 40 billion naira bond payment 8 months after Otedola's exit. The rider next sacks Kaduna Disco board over 456.5 billion naira debt. Says Disco owes NBET 415.5 billion naira, NISO 41 billion naira. Adeleke Oyebamiji salam in town hall today as Oshunguba poll gets competitive. I think this is very, very nice to have these candidates, different candidates, at a town hall meeting where they will be questioned and they'll get to speak on what they intend to do for the people of Osun State ahead of the elections, which will be held this Saturday across Osun State. You can get details of that story on page 5 of this day newspaper.
All right, we'll move next to
The Nation.
Yes, The Nation newspaper. On The Nation newspaper, we have as major headline: Battle for Osun hots up. That's on page 2. Well, today is Tuesday. The election comes up on Saturday. So, of course, Osun State, it's the hotspot for now. Wike, I don't need campaign DG job to deliver Tinubu in Rivers FCT. That's on news page 37. EU to send observers mission for 2027 elections. That's on page 2. Hamzat, Lagos needs bigger budget to meet infrastructure demand. That's on page 23. Security rescue victims in Enugu kidnappers den raid. That's on page 9. Those are the headlines from the front page of The Nation newspaper.
Alright, the Guardian newspaper is quite busy, unlike the Nation newspaper. We have opposition kicks as states hike permits, tighten campaign rules. Osun, report reveals 29 deaths from 73 incidents ahead of polls. This is very, very sad. I hope that the perpetrators of these crimes and irregularities have been apprehended. EU clarifies 2027 election rule as misreport. Reactions expose concerns. Imo, Nasarawa Varsity lecturers embark on indefinite strike over unpaid entitlements. Recapitalization, FG wades into dispute, suspends NICOM's 680 million naira fee. 2027, Atiku, Obi, Makinde, others may forge alliance against Tinubu. 90 civil society groups urge National Assembly to withdraw foreign aid bill. And lastly, from the Guardian newspaper, NEC takes over Kaduna Disco over 456.5 billion naira debt.
All right, so we've taken the Daily Times. So our last paper for review this morning is the Daily Trust newspaper. On the Daily Trust newspaper, we have as major headline, 2027 opposition revives coalition against Tinubu. 2027 opposition revives coalition against Tinubu. At the top, we have NEC sacks Kaduna Electric Board over 456 billion naira debt. We'll talk about that. 17 bandits, 10 policemen killed in Zamfara. How female student died on Lagos campus, says law school. And the last headline from the front page of Daily Trust says, troops arrest kidnap syndicate commander, recover rifles, cash. These are the headlines from the Daily Trust newspaper. Now, I'm very interested in this headline talking about